This is IBM Museum. Just some quick empirical testing here because Major Tom has been working on the 3270 emulation adapters. And of course under microchannel, those have an adapter ID, and there's just some questions here with the different types, and I'll go over those in just a moment, just to kind of show those, holding in my hands and looking over the components. And at the top of each of these pages, of course, typically is the links for the adapter description files, if it's an adapter that's covered on that page, or a set of adapters. And these 3270 boards have been identified as revisions or versions A, B, and C. And the earlier versions are supposed to use this E7FF ADF, and then the later versions that are the so-called short adapters use E1FF. And I just have some questions. I just want to kind of confirm some of the things. As I say, we'll go through and I'll show these on the camcorder view. But these are the different adapters. And of course, there will be a link to this in the video description for this page. And there's the 4 different types of microchannel. Then actually at the bottom, he's got the an 8-bit adapter as well. And I'll get to my 8-bit adapters in some other video. And I guess there is even, I was going to look through because there's even 3 types of these short adapters, and I'll have to just see the difference in those. There might be some changed components with these last 2. Oh yeah, I see it there. And I'll just have to look through. I do have 3 of those samples of those later adapter types, so we can kind of look through for that. But back behind me, I have in fact, we'll go through and just show a quick layout here of the setup I'm doing. And in the back, I've got the Model 80 Type 2 planer, and this is mine. I've already gone through and sent back the other one that I had recently. And then, of course, the power supply connected to it. I've got 1 memory board in it. And then I've got the adapters going through from the oldest to the newest, left to right. And I'll go through and bring those up on camcorder just for a little bit better view. I can take them up to the camera and kind of go over those. And so, and this will get me, let me see, I can go through and I guess I can turn on the internal webcam. And so this is the oldest adapter style. And it's, very evident with these large ceramic capacitors and a VR component back here for just the surges and things like that. Normally identified as a metal oxide varistor. And the we're getting a little bit of shine, of course, from the ring light on that. And then, of course, the top of this Toshiba chip is really nice and shiny, too. It's got just a silver with red lettering. And if we just kind of going through and zooming in on that, of course, it's got the FRU. Even has these colored paint bands that are that are on the adapter, and there's a little bit of discussion on those. We're trying to figure those out a little bit more. And then the coax connector on the back, of course. And so, it's got that. We'll see this a little bit more prominently. This FCC Class A C manual, and the next adapter is when they're going through and they're shrinking down some of the components here. And of course, we see now in these humongous letters FCC Class A C manual, and then the silver top chip is been replaced by a plastic, and a lot of the components otherwise, the discrete chips and things like that, have been reduced to these components, and it's got even memory chips on this. But the thing that I was seeing, it still has the older ceramic capacitors, and that VR module is still that large disc. And then one of the capacitors, it's smaller. This yellow capacitor down here is smaller than what it is on the older style board. So it's just going through as these go through time to get modified. Now I'm going to actually, before I drop this down to the board again, I'm going to go through and bring up the short adapter, the first short adapter, and that's where that's where the they've really reduced a lot of the stuff. But in reality, the large capacitors have shrunk down to be those surface mount units. It's got the same plastic chip on it. Everything else in that regard is identical to between the boards. The memory modules and everything else, in reality, it looks like on the short adapter that it's just a further reduction of this long board, and the components are the same. So I have a question of why they changed the ADF file if it's pretty much the same electronics, unless they're just getting ready for going through other variations with the so-called short adapter card. And on the 8-bit side, I'll go through a video with that and cover. There's actually a long and short adapter with that, and the 3270 PC that IBM had with an XT motherboard, and then you had that 3270 adapter in it. Special software for that you could toggle between emulating a 3270 type terminal and using your PC for the programs that were on it. The long adapter is the only one that works in the 3270 PC. The shorter 8-bit adapter that IBM had, just doesn't work in that instance. And I'll have a video of those and kind of cover a very good page of information where those are. Here is the last adapter, and again, I'll have to go through and look, because I think on Major Tom's outlines he's got one where it reduces those components further, and I think all of my 3 adapters are the same as this one is. And then it's got a lot of that, even the chips and components that were there. It's got that replaced with that ASIC chip to come up with this later version of that short adapter. And then we still see the tagging. It's off to the side here, the FCC Class A C manual. and the FCC Class A C manual there. So I do have them arranged in the planer, as I say, from just like these positions here. I've got oldest, the old long card, from the lowest numbered microchannel slots are also on the left. So when we go through and run this program, and this is an earlier video of mine where I was going through and demonstrating more of the program, but in this case I'm looking at differences between the adapters. And so I'll go through, let me get the system switched over to and it's just going to go through and count the 2 megabyte of RAM that's on there, that one module. And of course it throws up configuration errors. That 601 is a diskette drive error. The diskette drive clearly is not attached. And the 161 and 163 for the set configuration and set time and date. And going through, since it has no boot drives, it just drops us into ROM Basic. I don't even have to press a key on the keyboard or anything else. Now I'm going to go through and I can pause the video for my typing again, just so that's not all slow on the screen and me going through doing my two-fingered typist thing, and I'll unpause the video as I'm through with that. Okay, so I've got everything typed in. I went through first, of course, the first line is to that screen 1, and all that does is put the screen in that 40 column mode. Makes the print on the screen larger. And I've gone through, typed it in. I don't believe I have any errors of my typing, but let's go through and see. We're going to do F2 for the run. Okay, so interesting thing here, and this is almost kind of what I expected in a way, that the initial adapter, and that's in slot 3, right to left, on the planer, we've got the oldest to newest adapter. So slot 3, we have that oldest adapter. We skip over slot 4, and slot 5 we have the second version of the long card. We skip over slot 6, and then in 7 we have the first so-called short adapter, and then in slot 8, which is closer to the center of the planer, we have that latest version. And so this actually shows where that slot 3, it's E7FF as expected, but we get up to slot 5, and that's E1FF, the same as slot 7 and slot 8. So even that second long adapter having the same chips on it was a theory that why should that ADF change if all the components are the same? So it looks like the ADF changed from the first so-called long adapter to the second long adapter. And going through on my on Major Tom's page of those adapters, there's that first long adapter, and again at the top the so-called long adapter, or that version A, um, being the E7FF, and it needs to indicate that that second long version is the E1FF. So both the, that's effectively the version B, or what the identifier is there. Or revision B, I've seen that. So that's the E1 FF, E7FF, excuse me, with the shiny Toshiba chip, and then everything below that for the second long adapter, that's the E1FF ADF that are for all of these. So we learned something. I mean, this is the first time that I had the system powered up this way. I'm not going through and running this ahead of time of video. I just thought it'd be great just to drop the adapters in there and check it out. So pretty informative little video. And if you enjoy this content, go ahead and click on that like button, and do subscribe to my channel if you're not so already, and recommend my channel to your friends that are interested in this content too. I'd like to grow my subscriber base even further. But that's all I have for now. This is IBM Museum. Thank you.